So Ubisoft have responded to backlash surrounding their business practices where delisting games, and let's just say their response is very telling. And the way they have responded very much leads into the speculation we've come up with that the Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remake will indeed be replacing the original Black Flag. So that means you will not be able to play the original again. We're going to get into everything Ubisoft said today, and then I'm going to give my thoughts on the situation, but before we get into that, if you're new to my channel, The XL Live, and want to stay up to date with everything Assassin's Creed, then consider subscribing. Okay, let's get it. So an article was recently released by Eurogamer, and the headline is, Ubisoft's own shareholders demand response to the Stop Killing Games consumer movement. Ubisoft's response being, obviously, support for all games cannot last forever. Now, I want to read most of this article today because it's pretty informative and it really gives an idea of where Ubisoft's mindset is at right now when it comes to game preservation. If you didn't know, the Stop Killing Games movement is an EU-led group that are attempting to get the law changed so that basically when developers are done with supporting a game, they can't just remove all playable versions of said game so that the people that have paid for the game can continue to play. Now that doesn't mean they'll have to maintain servers and have to still support the game, it's just they have to release a build of the game that, again, consumers can get their money's worth out of, pretty much. There is more to it than that, but that's kind of the gist of it. Now, this initiative has got so many signatures to the point where now the EU government are legally required to at least consider it and talk about it. So again, let's read the article and see what they said. Ubisoft's own shareholders have directly challenged the publisher to respond to the huge swell of support behind Stop Killing Games, a consumer movement generated by Ubisoft's decision to take The Crew offline last year. So this whole Stop Killing Games movement came because The Crew was delisted. So it's directly Ubisoft's fault, pretty much, if you want to see it that way. For a small bit of context, if you paid for The Crew digitally or even physically at any point, to my knowledge, with no type of refund or anything like that, the game was taken away. It's an always online game, and so they shut down the Crew servers because I guess the game wasn't performing as well as it needed to be to still be maintained. But that meant people who paid for the game and enjoyed the game and still wanted to play the game had it snatched away from them. Now, quickly to bring things back to Assassin's Creed, I do want to add, the AC community have been doing a little bit of digging recently, and the Steam page for Assassin's Creed Black Flag has slowly been tweaked and had updates to the game, and looking in on the game files that have been added to Black Flag, there's been a difficulty slider, a save anytime feature, and basically features that were not in the original Black Flag, leaning towards the idea that Ubisoft are planning some kind of total conversion from the original to the remake, meaning the original Black Flag game will be potentially completely obsolete, so you'll have to play the Black Flag Remake. And you might be thinking, well, okay, that's fine, but they're gonna give me the Black Flag Remake for free then in that case, right? Well, maybe, but I highly doubt it. I'm sure you'll have to pay $50 at the least. Let's carry on with the article. The game's preservation movement was motivated by Ubisoft's decision to shut down open world race of The Crew, preventing access to both its multiplayer and single-player content due to its always online nature. More controversy followed shortly after, when the publisher began revoking customers' licenses to the game, permanently removing it from their libraries and preventing hopes of resurrecting it through private servers. Regarding the situation, we operate in a market, said Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot. And whenever we release a game, we provide a lot of support for that game. We also provide a lot of services to make sure that the game is accessible and remains playable 24/7. Well, he says that in response to an initiative that was born off of Ubisoft's complete destruction of a game that people had paid them for. So, bit of a weird response. Feels a bit fake. Guillemot suggests the publisher already provides information regarding the game and how long the game can be played. I just want to add a quick note to that. I highly doubt anywhere in the agreement when buying The Crew it said, yeah, we're going to get rid of this game in 2025. I highly doubt that. And pointed out it also adds an online connection required. Again, yeah, okay, that's fine, but that doesn't suggest anywhere that they can just revoke your license for the game and not give you a refund and never let you play the game again, does it? online connection required warning to the front of its boxed products, as well as explain that the company can cancel access to one or more specific online features up to a 30-day prior notice in its fine print. One or more specific online features. Again, that's not saying they're going to completely remove the whole game. At least it doesn't look like it to me. It's very sneaky wording. Guillemot, you're a sly devil, you, aren't you? You're a little sly man. Guillemot also told shareholders it offered a €1 fee proposed to all buyers of the game. For just €1, they got to buy the next version. As GameFile points out, this appears to be in reference to a sale last year that briefly sold the Crew 2 at $1 or €1. Yeah, again, that's just such a weird thing to say. So, from what I'm reading here, the Crew 2 was sold in a sale for $1 for a short amount of time, and then I'm sure it went back to full price. And that's Eve's version of offering a practically free upgrade? Yeah, for a short amount of time. But what about the people that couldn't pay for it during that sale and still owned the Crew 1 and had their license revoked by you? Now, regarding this $1/€1 sentiment by Yves Guillemot, so in that context of what he's saying, if we're going to take this guy seriously, then surely when the Black Flag Remake comes out, and if it does take over and removes the old original Black Flag, surely the Black Flag Remake should be $1 or €1, surely. By Yves' own logic, the game should be $1. But let me guess. It's probably not going to be $1, it's probably going to be $60 to $70, and you can't play the original game anymore. I hope to eat my words, I really do, because that would be crazy, but yeah, moving on. This kind of issue is not specific to Ubisoft. Guillemot added. Oh yeah, see that now he's saying, look, my friends do it, everyone else is doing it, why are you picking on me? All video game publishers are faced with that issue. You provide a service, but nothing is written in stone. And at some point, the service may be discontinued. Nothing is eternal. Oh my god. Jeez. And we're doing our best to make sure that things go well for all players and buyers, because obviously, support for all games cannot last forever. He's really harping on at this, isn't he? It can't be forever, it can't be forever. We're not asking you to have the games running forever, we're just asking that if somebody's paid for your game, you provide some kind of build of that game. You don't have to maintain the servers, just provide an offline build so people can still play the game that they gave you money for. That's it. The lifespan of a piece of software. Whenever there's a service component, eventually services may be discontinued, because eventually the software may become obsolete over time. Guillemot concluded. A lot of tools become obsolete 10 or 15 years down the line. They're no longer available, and that's why we release a new version. Again, that's sounding like an excuse to replace original Black Flag with the Black Flag Remake and not have it alongside. Anyway, and so we have version 2 and then version 3. But clearly this is a far-reaching issue and we're working on it. If you're working on it, here's a bit of advice, Ubisoft. When the Black Flag Remake comes out, do not replace the original Black Flag, have them as two separate games. Look at Oblivion and Oblivion Remastered. Oblivion Remastered is a complete overhaul of the original Oblivion, but you can still pay like $5 for the original Oblivion. It's still there. That game is still preserved for the people that paid for it back in 2006. Also, while we're at it, while you're talking about working on this stuff, please just optimize your original Assassin's Creed games. On PC, you can't even play AC1 without it stuttering every, 5 seconds because of an online server issue that you just don't seem to ever want to fix. And then it's up to modders to fix your problems. Same with Assassin's Creed 2. The button mapping is completely screwed, so you have to, go in and change everything and even download mods to be able to even run with a trigger button. It's so weird. Also, you can't even play the game in 4K properly because it stutters every few seconds because there's no optimization for newer systems, when a small update would definitely fix that. So maybe work on that stuff. Also, maybe bring back the original Assassin's Creed 3 from the Ubisoft store. You replaced Assassin's Creed 3 with Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered without allowing the option to even be able to play the older one anymore or buy the older one. So maybe bring that back so people can buy the original Assassin's Creed 3. Guillemot's response, however, feels a tad simplistic, as never-ending access to a game isn't what the Stop Killing Games movement is actually asking for. So he's literally just crafting a very manipulative response, in my opinion, to make them look okay for what they're doing, when that's not even what Stop Killing Games is wanting to do anyway. Again, we are in favor of publishers ending support for a game whenever they choose, the FAQs explain. What we are asking for is that they implement an end-of-life plan to modify or patch the game so that it can run on customer systems with no further support from the company being necessary. We agree that it is unrealistic to expect companies to support games indefinitely and do not advocate for that in any way. Additionally, there are already real-world examples of publishers ending support for online-only games in a responsible way, such as Gran Turismo Sport and Knockout City. So there you go, that's pretty much the whole of the article. And the ending is a really good summary of what Stop Killing Games do. They're not saying to Ubisoft or to any company like Ubisoft that, oh yeah, you have to spend, loads of manpower maintaining servers for games that, there isn't a high enough player count to really justify it anymore. No, they're not asking for that. They're saying, look, when you, end the servers, for example, on the Crew, and the game is now offline, then you provide a patch for the game that allows the single player to be played at least offline. And there you have it, no problem. But no, Ubisoft won't do that because they don't care for game preservation. They do not care at all. Again, look at AC1's compatibility on PC. Look at AC2's. Look at the AC Unity co-op servers. Yeah, they still work, but the trouble and hoops that they make each player, jump through to be able to connect with their friends is crazy. On top of that, look at Brotherhood Revelations multiplayer modes. Mine and the community's love for Assassin's Creed games aside, Ubisoft's behavior when it comes to game preservation is diabolically bad. And I'm glad they're being called out for it, but what I'm not happy about is Yves Guillemot's response. It's just sidestepping everything he's basically been asked, and he's just given a non-response. He's basically weaseled his way out of it to continue what he's doing, and to justify doing that. Now, leading finally back to the Black Flag Remake, why is this bad news? Well, if you don't know already, it's because it leads very much into the fact that Ubisoft, when they do release this Black Flag Remake, again suggesting to the speculation we've already had about this, that they will remove the original Black Flag game. Now, when I say they will, I'm speculating. Based off of the evidence we've seen, it looks like a very credible theory. But again, I'm not saying it's definitely happening because we do not know yet. But all the evidence is suggesting that they will remove the the original Black Flag, so that you are forced to upgrade to the remake and forced to play the remake. Now, if you've got the disc version of Black Flag on 360 or Xbox One, yeah, you can likely still put the disc in, install the game from the disc and play the original game. But on digital stores, just like what they did with AC3, it seems very likely that they will remove all versions of the original Black Flag from any storefront so you can never buy it again, so that if you haven't purchased the original Black Flag before, you don't own the disc, and you're trying to buy it and play the game, you can't. It's gone. In turn, for the Black Flag Remake being the only option, and I wouldn't be surprised if that only option is $70. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of all I have to say today, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think the Black Flag Remake, or at least original Black Flag, is in trouble? We'll get a conversation going and build that AC community. Before we go today, we talk extensively about the Black Flag Remake as well as Assassin's Creed in general on the Podyssey, an Assassin's Creed podcast hosted by me, The Exile, and my friend Willis Makes Movies. It's just two AC YouTubers having a good time. Anyway, guys, check that out if you're new to that as well. A like on this video would be much appreciated, and I will see you soon.